Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Voices of Influence, a series that inspires and empowers. Today, we're switching our guests up a little bit. We were scheduled to have Amy and Nancy Harrington, the sisters behind the Passionistas Project, but we opted to reschedule them since they live in Los Angeles. And we felt that their time was better served being present and just assisting their family and friends who have been impacted by the devastating fires. And I know that there's so many of us here in California and just across the country who know people that have been impacted. And I just want to take this moment to really support those in need. There are so many organizations out there that are assisting in different ways, providing mental health services, shelter, food, and any other resources or necessities. So I want to just continue to encourage everyone to support and share all those resources available, because this is when we get to see the beauty in humanity. And so with that, I want to introduce to you our guest that jumped right in, and I loved it when I told him that there was a last minute opening. We have a waiting list for this series, and I want to just jump in and welcome Luis Perez. And you may have guessed it, you may have not, but yes, he is another author from Hispanic Stars Rising, Volume 5, the new face of power. I'm just going to pause right there because let me tell you guys, if you want to get inspired, you need to grab a copy of this book. And I know Luis and all the other authors will say this, but Luis and I will make sure that you have a copy of the link, because it is filled with incredible stories. There you go. Got your copy right there. It's available on Amazon, but we're going to get you guys the link because it's truly filled with incredible stories. And Luis, I am happy to have you here today. Thank you for jumping in.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we have a waiting list, and to just see you say, yes, I'm available. I'm going to make it work. We made it work. And I'm ready to dive in. And I am ready for a conversation today because you have a very powerful message to share. We started to get into the conversation off air, and we're like, nope, we're stopping right now, and we're going to save the good stuff for when we jump on. And I know I know you very little, right? Obviously, a couple interactions, but I read your chapter, and we also connected separately because you truly have a full book in your heart that I know will be published soon. No doubt about that. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about Luis Perez, and we'll dive into the powerful message and your journey.
Well, thank you. First of all, thank you for having me. And prayer goes out to all the family and friends that are out there in LA, California. And who is Luis Perez? Well, Luis Perez grew up in the projects with a single mother. Grew up with a domestic violent household, where we actually thought it was normal, when reality it's not normal to live that kind of environment. Really don't know, but I can actually say it was when I was like 12 years old that I felt like, are we free yet from this atmosphere? Which I thought I was free, and I wasn't, because I actually went through, not a lot of people know about this, bullying, getting picked on a lot. For me being dyslexic, which I am not ashamed to share it anymore. I'll tell anybody, yes, I have that. And I live with it, and I know how to work with it. I went through domestic violent relationship where there was alcohol and drug abuse. And once again, I thought it was a normal thing to go through, to live, because, we had those up and down moments, and we're going to put through it. Let's fix this. Until, honestly, it was 2018 where I said, enough is enough. This life that I went through when I was a kid, this lifestyle that I went through in a relationship, in a gay relationship, let me put that out there. It's not normal at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I put my foot down. And I said, enough is enough. And I just packed my things, left my apartment, moved in with a friend. She had me there for a couple of months until I started all over again on my own. And that is when I officially felt free.
Mm.
Free from knowing like this is not normal. Yes, I had other relationship that they put their hands on me, but I ended it once that happened because I knew that wasn't normal at all.
Yeah.
And I will think back, and honestly, my mother was a single mother that raised 6 kids on her own, and it's not easy raising 5 boys and 1 girl by herself. And I asked her a lot, like, how did you do this? I asked her recently, actually, how did you raise 6 kids on your own? It's two, and I can't do it. I'm a foster dad, by the way. I had two wonderful 15-year-olds. But as like teenagers, they drive you crazy.
Yeah.
And I asked my mom, how do you do it with 6 kids? It's two, and I can't do it. But going back to my story, it was a tough life growing up. It was a tough life, being an adult, thinking that being in a negative environment is normal. And I'm here to let everyone know it's not normal.
Mm-hmm.
You have to take your life back and free yourself. I had a partner that told me you will never become anything.
Mm.
You will not make it. You cannot afford no rent by yourself. You need me. Look at you. But I proved, not to him, not to anyone, but to myself, I can do it. I will do it. Not because I want to prove to anyone, but I want to prove to myself que todo yo puedo en Cristo que me fortalece. Filipenses 4:13. And that is one of my favorite verse in the Bible because I have put that inside my soul and I said, I will do it. And a little more information about who is Luis Perez. Once I set myself free from that negative environment, it took me years to be the person I am today, to be able to express myself, to be able to open up and share. And people will look at me and say, you never went through trauma. People will actually look at me and say, you're always smiling. Like, you don't know what life is. You don't know nothing.
Mm.
And I will tell them my little story, just a little bit. And that's when I'm able to do that today. Because I know a lot of people out there need to hear these kind of stories, especially when it comes to the LGBTQ community. Because there's a lot of them out there that think that's normal. This is what love is. No, no, sweetie, that's not love. That's
Mm-hmm.
not love. That's jail.
Wow.
And honestly, that's how I felt when I was in that kind of relationship. And I can speak about my life. I felt like I was in jail, that I couldn't look to the left. I couldn't look to the right. I couldn't even look up to God because I would have gotten, jumped because there's no other way to put it.
Yeah. Luis,
But,
oh my gosh. Thank you for just being so open and sharing this because you're definitely not alone. I know that there are so many people that are either if they're listening live or listen to the replay, I know that your message is going to hit someone right in the heart.
mhm.
And I say this all the time, we come out here and we share our messages and I love that you said, Chris, this is going to be my first time sharing it, in this type of platform. And I love it because this specific message is going to come across to someone who needs to hear it, and they're going to hear it at the right time, and it's going to make a difference for them. I know that. I believe that. And there's so much you said there, but I really want to just ask you, when was that moment for you that you said, I don't want this anymore? This is not normal. I want to be free. What was that turning point for you?
Like I stated, it was 2018. And honestly, going more deep into my story, it was when yes, 2018. It was the same year my grandmother passed away. Even though my partner and I, we broke up, I still wanted to fix things, because I was like, I loved him. I know he could be a better man. And it was that moment to see my grandmother when she passed away in the hospital where I opened up my eyes and I called him saying, just to share what is going on in my life at that moment, I need you. And not being there, open up my eyes to say, no, wait, no, enough is enough.
Mm.
I got to better myself for me. And when the time is right, I know I'm going to meet someone that's going to give me the push that I need to better myself even more, which
Yes.
honestly, I did. I met him. His name is Marcus. It's my baby. And we met 2020. I hope he's not watching this. 2020. And the first thing I asked was, I want to go back to school. How do you feel about that? Go. In 2020, that's when I officially was like, I could breathe.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a lot of people that's out there that feel like they're stuck inside a cup full with water and they're drowning. But all you need to do is just stand up because this cup is not that big.
Mm-hmm.
That was me. All I needed to do was stand up if I could start breathing. And now I'm breathing and I'm sharing. I'm able to open up. And that was the moment where 2018 was the year that I was like, enough.
Yeah.
And from 2018 to 2020, that's when I started learning who I am. What do I want? What's important? What is not important? I was able to learn, wait a minute, you're not a good friend to me. You're not a good person to me. I learned to just push the people away that was trying to hold me back. Because surprisingly, you can have the best friend in the whole wide world, but in reality, is that your best friend? Because
Mm-hmm.
I have learned your best friend is the one that's going to give you that push that you need to better yourself. Not to tell you, oh, sweetie, you'll be fine. Just talk it out.
Yeah.
No, you need that push to, that special person. And it could be your significant other, but it could be, yes, a friend.
Yeah. There was also something you said earlier, and I think it's super important. And you said, when people see me, they know a person who looks like I never went through trauma in my life.
Mhm.
And you may have said it a little bit different, but that's powerful to me because there are so many people, myself included, that we walk around and people will say that, oh, you look
Mhm.
so happy. Oh, things are just wonderful. And, personally, I may be in one of the most beautiful moments of my life, but it wasn't always like that.
Mhm.
And so, what do you tell people? I know you said when they make those comments, you share a little bit about your story, but what message do you have for people who are feeling stuck, you know, and just really want that freedom that you talked about?
So while you were speaking, I actually remember when I used to work at Wheeler Clinic, I had a client that seriously was yelling and screaming at me. You don't understand what it is to be a single parent, raising kids and no food, no nothing. I was like, I'll listen. And then I remember my mom went through that. And I told them, I do understand because I had a mother that raised kids on her own under, getting food stamps, I don't know if she got in cash assistant. I don't know, but I know we got in food stamps and to open up the fridge on like the last week of the month. seeing like, oh my God, we only had a couple of food left. I understand that. And I share that type of story. Like, I'm not here to judge because I went through that. Or, for example, I had a resident here in my current job that actually told me, you don't understand what it is to go through what I'm going through. You look like you drive a nice car and you're always happy and jolly. And I was like, I understand. Because there was a time I was driving a 1993 Honda Accord, and it was 2016. And it was a bucket. The windows did not go down. And I was praying to God that the car don't break down or anything.
Yeah.
And I'll tell them those are the stories I will share with them, not to like throw them in the face like, oh, I know what you're going through. No, but to let them know, hey, listen, I'm not here to judge you, but I understand because I went through that. And the way I motivate people is one, sharing the story, but giving them hope. Here on my wall, I actually have a wall of inspiration that I actually look at it myself and be like, this is a reminder. I have a mirror in my office and I use that mirror. So when I have a resident come in here being all negative and everything, I was like, oh, we ain't doing that today. I want you to stand in front of that mirror, grab one of those quotes and read it to yourself. Because you are a beautiful person. You are a beautiful human being. And right now you are struggling, but you're getting the help that you need to push yourself for better. And that's what I do. I do that to myself. And until today, I still do that. When those negative thoughts, oh, I will never graduate college. Oh my God. And I'll stand in the mirror. I'm like, hold on. Let me slap myself wrong. No, I'm going to graduate. I'm going to push through. That's the way I share.
How do those individuals respond when you have them look in front of the mirror and read that quote to themselves, or a quote? I don't know how many you have there, but
a lot. It's funny because I got one that she'll come into my office and she'll be like, oh, Louis, we're not doing this today. I'm like, no, we're doing this today. And some of them will probably look at me like I'm weird, but I have a couple of them that will look at me like, you're a really good guy, Louis. You truly do understand. You know, some people would just come into my office and talk to me, and I'm not a social worker yet, but some people will come into my office and just, how you say it in English, desahogarse.
Yeah,
you
vent.
Know, the vent to me and everything, and I'm just there listening to them, and then I'll just let them all out. And sometimes they have their own answer.
Yeah.
They just needed to hear, they wanted someone to hear them out, and then they put the pieces themselves.
Yes. So, Luis, if you had one message that you wanted to share with everyone, what message would that be?
Push.
And you've said that several times, and I know there's a little bit more meaning behind push. So tell us.
Push, pray until something happens. Because even though you think God's not listening, he truly is listening. It's just not the time yet. And sometimes he is talking to you, but sometimes we're so stubborn that we're not listening. So push, pray until something happens. And always remember, negative never wins unless you allow negative to win.
Absolutely. Yes. I love that. Now, I did ask you when I saw the acronym push until something happens. Where did you hear that from?
From a pastor that I had when I was growing up, Jose Luis Rivera, Iglesia de Dios Incorporada. He preached a sermon one day about push, pray until something happens, and it just stuck to me ever since. And then there was another, actually thinking about it now, there was another sermon that he preached, and it was the yet is yet to come. So in other words, relax. It's going to come. Your blessing will come. Your time will come.
It absolutely will. And I love what you said, pray until something happens. And so many times, God. I mean, I'm a person of faith, right? But I mean,
Mhm,
whatever and whomever people believe in, right? The universe, source, whoever it is.
mhm,
But for me, it's God. And it's like, God is always talking to me, always.
mhm,
Sometimes, like you said, our mind is so cluttered that we're not making space. There's so much noise. We're not making space to hear those messages. And they say, silence meditation, and people don't really, make the time because we're so busy, and we live in this world where it's just so busy, and
mhm,
people is just like, oh, I'm so busy, but there's such beauty and taking that time to be in silence, like absolute silence. And I tell people, you don't have to meditate, just put your earbuds on, put some, soft music. And I like
mhm,
different frequency music, God's frequency, a different music to just tune everything out.
mhm.
And I've gotten some of the most powerful messages where you sit there like, am I just talking to myself? What's that little voice? But it's
Exactly.
like, hey, the message is there for a reason. And
Mhm,
sometimes those messages don't make sense. Or, like you said, sometimes we don't get them when we want them, but they're there and they're
mhm,
coming. And we just need to make that extra time to tune in more than
mhm.
anything.
That's something that actually what I do. I actually put on my praise and worship music, especially in my office. I prepare the atmosphere like, okay, Lord, I'm coming to your present because I know I'm going to need you today more than ever. But sometimes that one music will come on and it will have you crying and you'll
Mhm.
say, wow, I just felt that spirit. I felt the spirit. I felt God talking to me through the music.
Yeah.
Because, like you just said, we just have to listen and
Mhm.
declutter.
Absolutely. Luis, is there any final words you have for the audience today?
Final word is if you are in this moment going through a situation that's so private and no one else knows, seek help. There's help out there. Domestic violence is not something normal. It's not normal at all. Your happiness, and if you have kids' happiness, they are important. Now, push, pray until something happens, and don't give up because that light will shine so bright that it will lead you the path. And if the negative thoughts come to your mind, how would I do it? I can't make it. I rebuke that in the name of Jesus because you can do it and you will do it. Because if I did it, and I'm going to share more before I let everybody go. And at that time, when I left out of that apartment in 2016, I was only making 35,000. I paid my rent, my light, my gas, food, car insurance, loan car, loan car. I did all that. Don't ask me how I did it, but I did it, and I never went to bed without hungry. I never went to bed without saying, "Oh my God, what I'm going to eat tomorrow, what I'm going to eat later." Push. That's my final word. Just keep pushing.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Luis, for sharing your story.
No problem.
I
Thank you
say
for
it time
having
and
me.
time again. Yes. I say it time and time again that storytelling is really something that I believe allows people to connect, just to feel inspired, to see themselves reflected in those stories, and really to see what's possible. Because, like I said earlier, your story, somebody's going to hear it
Mhm.
and they're going to be inspired by you, right? As a matter of fact, yesterday I received a message from one of our authors in Latinas Rising, which is a book I published in October. And she said somebody read her story. They reached out to her and said, wow, your story is almost identical to mine with a minor difference. And to me, that's when it matters. And I get the chills, when I said that, because somebody's going to hear your story, Luis, and it's going to say, wow, that's like almost identical to mine. And look at him today.
Mhm.
That's the power. And that is why I invite you to share your story as well for those that are listening. This live series is booked out at the moment, but if you want to share your story, send me a DM. I will share with you another way that I've created to be able to capture beautiful stories that are going to inspire and empower, and it's through our online magazine, Voices of Influence. And if you are listening today and you would like to share your story in one of our 5 upcoming collaboration books that are launching in 2025 this year, I'll have a special link with a fast action bonus that I'm going to put in the comments where you can have, you'll see all the information you need about, what you get and how to share your story in one of our books. We have 5 beautiful titles coming out. And if you're listening to this today, mention this episode or let me know, but there's going to be a link where you have access to that, because that's one of my passions, sharing people's stories, not only in this type of platform, in written form as well, because there's so much power in writing your story. There's so much healing that goes into doing that. And I hear it 100% of the time from all the authors that they healed parts that they didn't even know needed healing just by writing their story. So I invite you to share your story with us. And thank you once again, Luis, for...
If you don't mind me adding one more thing.
Yes,
that is actually true. Because when I wrote my story in Hispanic Star Rising, that's when I got that email that my story was selective, and I read my story again. That is when I finally 100% actually felt free. That chains were broken. I felt something light just lifted off my shoulder. And I was like smiling even more. And I was like, I never knew I still had this inside. I thought I let it go.
You gave me the chills again.
I agree. Right will set you free. Just write your story. Right.
Thank you for sharing that, Luis. Thank you, everybody. I will see you guys next week on Tuesday for another guest on Voices of Influence. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.